Welcome to a new edition of Keefer's Corner. Jeremy Nygaard, Coach Keefer. Nick is not here, as you can see, so we're just going to go with the two of us, just like old times.
Just like back in the day.
Back in the day. So how are we doing tonight, Coach?
Doing really good.
So went to Osceola last Friday night. Ended up with a 40-7 win. Never quite got it to running clock. Had a couple turnovers, one empty possession in the first half. But overall, I think you take that win and
oh yeah,
now we turn the page. So thinking about that Osceola game, offensively, what stood out for you?
You know, again, I thought we had a pretty good performance by our offensive line, which, you know, I think we rushed for 462. That's pretty good. Taden Holdorf had another fantastic night. I think he had 229. Gavin Sell had a couple of really nice runs. Dane Veenendahl. I thought Trent Gordon, I was really happy to see our JV, our younger O-line, at the end of the game, got a few first downs, and that was really good to see. So overall, I thought it was good. You know, things that we got to limit. Obviously, you hate to turn a dang ball over. You know, we had Gav had one in particular that was like, hey, we have to make better decisions. But he just kind of has that mentality that he thinks every play should be a touchdown.
Right.
But that's not reality. I mean, reality is sometimes we got to throw an incompletion, or sometimes we got to run out of bounds, and then maybe we can score in 2 plays or something, because we've had some success there. So, as we're, continuing to try to get better, that's something that we're working for.
In fairness to Gavin, there has been a lot of touchdowns.
There have been a lot of touchdowns.
Every play can be a touchdown. Sometimes it feels like almost every play is a touchdown.
Yeah, I would highlight the O-line. They really are communicating well, and they're very assignment sure, and that's a big key to our success.
Yeah, when you can hand the ball to Taden, and it's like 7-8 yards before there's contact with him,
right,
and then he runs that guy over. It's like then the chains move, and then it seems like, I think I counted. I want to say that there was like 9 or 10 of his runs that were 10 or more.
Yeah.
He had, I think, a 44-yarder, a 50-some-yarder, but like big chunk plays that are just happening on repeat. Whether it's him or whether it's Gavin or Dane on the ground.
Yeah.
At one point, I was hoping that Dane would get, I don't know, we were like around midfield, and like, man, if he breaks one off, and Gavin gets 2 yards, like we could have 3 guys go over 100 yards.
Yeah.
Which, to have home run threats, we've had them through the air.
Yeah.
Right. But to have what we've had, it's different after seeing everything that we did through the air the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah. We're definitely a different outfit this year. Which you're playing to your strengths, and I think one good thing will be, at some point this year, the weather's been fantastic. But as the year progresses, there's going to be some inclement weather, and that's one advantage that this team would have compared to last year's team. Right. When you're that dependent on throwing the ball, if it's a really, really windy night, that makes it a lot tougher.
Right.
So, I think us being more of a run team this year that could be a good thing.
Yeah, so Taden had 3 more touchdowns on the ground, which I believe gives him 17 on the year, which is a new Blackhawks single season touchdown rushing record.
Yeah, I had no idea about that until I found out from you. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming, and that's surprising because it's a 7-game record, and he really,
when you have 6 in a game.
Yeah, well, that does.
They tend to add up.
They add up quickly. I think Riley Anderson was the one that it was his record, correct?
I believe Riley and Cal.
Oh, Cal also had 16.
Yeah,
okay.
Last year.
I didn't realize Cal got up to there. Yeah. But, I know both those guys did it in 13 games.
Right.
So to do it in 7.
Right. And I think Miniman was up there. I want to say Jake was up there. Like there's.
Yeah.
But yeah, to do it in essentially half of the games.
Right.
But he's also over 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Which we haven't had a ton of guys over the course of history go over 1,000 yards.
No, that's hard to do.
But when you have a 300-plus game, 200-plus game, And I guess, in Tatum's case, when you play Somerset and you score 4 touchdowns last year in the playoffs, 6 touchdowns this year in the regular season, if we get Somerset in the playoffs again, Tatum might end up with 35 or 40 touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, we just got to worry about getting better. It has been. I know it's been kind of crazy offensively. It has been, but we can still be better. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think the team averages around 45 a game.
It's good.
So I mean that someone's got to. If you're scoring 45, people are obviously putting points up, right? You think of the 2008 team, the 2010 team. We weren't scoring. I think we had a couple games where
the 8 team scored pretty. That was an offensive,
but not 40 a game.
No, probably not.
And then even last year, we had some high scoring games, but we didn't have 45 a game through 7 games.
No.
But you mentioned the line, and I think, and you can obviously tell me if I'm wrong, what the line strengths are plays really, really well to what the skill guy strengths are.
Yeah.
And when you put that together.
I agree. We are, if I was going to say what are the strengths of the O-line, well, number one, we have a smart group that's good at communicating. But when you talk about physical attributes, we're very athletic. And, we pull quite often. And we have kids that are very mobile. We have kids that are able to get up to the next level. We have kids that are able to reach block. And those, they're just really good athletes right across the board, and that makes it, it fits exactly with what we're trying to do, like you said, offensively, because we pull quite a bit. We pull on our power, we pull on our counters, and we pull on, the pin and pull.
So flipping over to the defensive side, Osceola scored, I want to say, early in the 4th or late in the 3rd. It was 32-0 at the time. They get on the board with their freshman back. I
just found out he was a freshman. I didn't realize he was.
So the kid hadn't played a lot of offense apparently, and came in on, I want to say, their 3rd drive, and it was basically him the whole way. They got it down, and I want to say they might have turned it over on downs, but that was kind of his drive. We went back and scored almost immediately. But we did give up those 7 points.
I think, was it 6?
Was it 6 or 7?
Or was it 7?
I think it was 40-7 was the final score. How did you think the defense played? You give up 1 touchdown. They did have some drives where they were moving the ball.
Yeah, they moved the ball a couple times. What they kind of started doing is they started running outside veer, which we had not seen them do.
Yep.
And we were probably, I take full responsibility. We were probably a little slow to, stomp that fire out, get that fire out. Literally when you watch after the game, you're looking at film, you're like, this is what we should have done. And we just really didn't identify that quick enough. They were, the way we were lined up, they were able to get us pinned down, and they just kept going wider and wider and wider. And we were just, if we could have, made a couple little adjustments. But, that's something that we'll learn from, because, there are other teams that we're going to play that could see that, and, hopefully we'll be more prepared. But, Osceola is well coached. If you're not doing something just right, they're going to expose you. I was blown away when you told me the kid was a freshman. I did not know that.
Yeah. Big kid.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one.
Yeah. They did have a play in it must have been the second quarter, early in the second quarter, where they got behind the defense.
Yes.
Maybe got away with a little hold on that one.
Oh, I didn't see the hold, but the kid had a touchdown. He just dropped it.
In the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, on our sideline, he had the touchdown that he just dropped. They had 2 plays where I thought,
well, they had the one long pass that I'm thinking of, it was heading towards the scoreboard.
Yep,
and the kid was, correct. He double moved it, and we should have been, situation, it was right before half.
Right.
And the kid dropped it, and that would have been,
And so maybe it was the first quarter. They had one earlier.
I guess I wasn't aware of that one.
It was after a questionable call.
Well, one I got to stand up for was, I thought Dane Vienendahl, there was a 4th and 3, they threw it up, and he defended that, I thought, perfectly.
Yep.
But somehow there was a defensive hold called.
Right.
I have no idea where that came from, but it happened, and we'll deal with it because that's the way things work.
Yep.
Then they got the first and goal, and they were able to score. But they had a really nice sustained drive to get down there.
Yep.
We had plenty of chances to stop them.
Yeah.
But,
so I mean so there was a couple times though, and I think we benefited from it too against Xavier. We can talk about this a little bit more when we talk about Prescott, where drop passes. I mean, if they're caught, not that it was going to change the whole. Because for me, it was that the one down kind of the middle of the field where we might have got away with a little bit of a grab.
Okay.
And then the one down the sideline. It's like those are two possessions that very easily could have been 6 points.
What was that on Graydon? Was the one that you thought was a hole?
I don't know if it was Graydon or Dawson. There was just. I'm not ringing it up. We were on the far side. The Osceola coach thought for sure it was pass interference. From my perspective, I thought it was going to be a pass interference, and it just wasn't called.
Interesting.
But we'll talk more about that when we talk about Prescott.
Yeah, I thought Brody Everts had a great game. Brody had an interception.
Yep.
I thought Gavin Sell played really well defensively. Yep. I think he had. I know he had an interception. Brody had an interception. Yep. Gav had a sack, forced fumble. Brody recovered it, right. And I think Sell maybe had one other sack. Does that sound right? Yeah. I mean, just a lot of impact plays. Those are really big plays in the game, and I thought both those guys played. I thought Graydon Monacan played very well at free safety. Continues to play well. He's a really good tackler and a good communicator and leader for our group, and he's really doing some good things.
And I feel like when we come around the edge, guys are getting tackled in the backfield. When other teams are coming around the edge on Gavin, they're not getting a clean shot on him. A lot of times he's still making the throw, or he's just, when you can't tackle the quarterback, right? It changes the whole scheme of the game. And that with Osceola, the quarterback wasn't breaking those tackles, and the ball comes out. Yeah, and that's just a waterfall of bad luck.
What surprised me, a stat from the game, is they threw for 24 yards only.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind. It seemed like they had some success with that, but I guess not much. Well, I guess it was all foul balls, so to speak. The drop passes.
Yep. Because there was opportunities, right? And they didn't seem to. And what's crazy is that kid that dropped the one in front of your sideline was the one that had the tipped diving interception.
Yeah.
It's like you'd make the easy one. That 6 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously he's capable of catching the ball. Special teams wise,
it was kind of a weird game, special teams wise. They didn't kick it deep, so we didn't really have any chances on kick returns. I don't think we punted it, or did we punt one?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't think we did.
Gavin had the one where he had
didn't feel the punt,
muffed it out of bounds.
You're fortunate there. Yeah, I mean, those are things that you gotta catch the ball. But so the special teams, we didn't make a lot of huge impact plays. Well, we've been doing that pretty consistently. Right. So our 2-point play was good again. So hopefully we can keep that cranking.
Yeah, that's fun to watch.
It is,
because you never know where it's going to go, and if it goes to Gavin, it's just like he's going to cut at some point.
Yeah,
you just don't know when, and by then you passed him, and now he's walking.
Well, it's fun when you have a kid like Gavin, because people might say, well, you got to do that every year. Well, it won't be as successul every single year, because he changes the math.
Right.
And if you can't just say, oh, we got one on him, or you put 2 on him, good luck. It's so. And
I think you could make that same argument about Tatum, because he changes the math too, because he's going to run over a guy.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So it's kind of like 13 on 11.
Yeah, that's probably a good analogy.
And the line's good. It's tough too. So, right. And that's why it is as successful as it is. All right, so moving forward here, battle of the unbeatens in the conference. We're going to host Prescott on Friday night. They beat Amory on Saturday afternoon. And then Ellsworth is one loss behind, having lost to us, having not played Prescott. So as we look at the Prescott Cardinals, who have been up and down, really in the middle border, more down than up since I think they made it to state the last year they were in the Dun St. Croix. Haven't had a ton of success in the middle border. And this is kind of the year, as far as Prescott fans are concerned, when this group of seniors now. I know you don't like to talk about the rankings. They're ranked, I believe, 4th in the state. We cracked it at 9th. The new ones will come out tomorrow afternoon. But this is the team, and where have they had so much success? They've had success through the air. We haven't seen a team like them pass the ball yet this year.
Well, they are a very, very good team throwing the ball. But I think you're sleeping on it if you think they don't run it, because they run it very, very well. They're 67% run, believe it or not. They're very effective, and they have 2 really super talented receivers, Cody Russell and Will Packard. And they're both really good football players. And they're good. It's going to definitely be a challenge for us, right? Because those kids are probably 2 of the best. They'll both be all conference, I would think, type kids, and go beyond that. They'll be, get recognition, maybe all region or beyond, without a doubt, because they're super talented kids. They're more than that. They have other skill kids that are good. This Temers kid, their running back, is a really good player. Tough kid, like the way he plays the game. Their line is good. This 58 Rainier, I think is how you pronounce it. Really good player. I mean, he's a good old lineman. He's huge, moves well, and he leaves kind of a wake. Wherever he goes, he's been impressive. So I absolutely feel like this is probably the best team that we've faced, for sure, since Ellsworth and maybe even since Mount Horeb. We'll see. They're a good team.
You didn't mention their quarterback, Teddy Burnick.
Teddy's good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he can throw the ball. Very accurate thrower. He's run the ball more effectively this year than he has in years past. So he's having a really good year, and they're good. Yeah, I mean, that's not at all meant to be like not no disrespect to him. He's a good player.
Yeah, leads the conference in passing yards. We've played games. The Somerset game, 70-42.
Mm-hmm.
Average 40-some points a game. Prescott averages 40-some points a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you expecting this game to be a shootout?
I don't look at it and think like that. I just don't. I don't. I mean, I would be a fool to think that like Prescott's not going to get some points, because they're a good team. I mean, they got some guys and they're going to make some plays.
Right.
So I guess in my mind, do I think there's going to be some points scored? Yeah, I would think so. I mean, but I don't expect it necessarily to be both teams scoring 40 points. I don't envision something like that. We'll see.
Defensively, what does Prescott do defensively? That
they're unique. They're kind of unlike anybody that we've faced, in that they're running this flex defense, a defense that we ran for many years here. Have some familiarity with it, from my history at River Falls and whatnot. And they do a nice job with that. They got some, variations that they do. They present it with some different fronts. Last year they did something that was completely different, where they kind of broke out of that mold, and they were, I believe, they're trying to maybe slow down their jets. They kind of took a flex player and put him opposite our H, so you have an extra guy to defend against that. I have no idea what they're going to do. So obviously we'll prepare for all the things they could do.
Right. Well, I feel like you take that flex guy out this year, that would pose a problem to stopping our run.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lighter box. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're trying to stop. What are they going to prioritize? They want to try to prioritize taking away the power game, or do they want to take away the jet option game? I don't know.
Right. Well, it hasn't that kind of been how every defense has to kind of determine. It's like we can force Gavin to give the ball to Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't always been a great option. Or we can make Gavin keep the ball.
Yeah.
That also presents a problem. Or we're giving it to the jet guy.
Yeah.
That hasn't been a great option defensively either. Do you anticipate? So we've talked about this a little bit. Both Columbus and Lodi we're throwing the ball all over everybody, right? They combated that with, were they bringing guys or were they not? And
They were not.
They were just sitting back.
They were dropping 8.
So what's the thing? Like, do you just start bringing more people against our rush?
I would expect that. Yes, I would expect. If people, generally in any level of football, if someone's running the ball effectively, then you put more people close to the box.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think we've seen quite a bit of that. Where there's been relatively heavy boxes, and we've thrown it with some effectiveness. We could throw more, but there's a lot of times like where you have the option of throwing it, but we're running it successfully. So if you're still successful running it, you run it.
Right. And I feel like what Columbus and Lodi both had the ability to do too is they were really strong on the edges.
Mm-hmm.
So we could throw bubble or we could throw those quick hitters,
mm-hmm.
and they were good in the open field.
Yes.
Right. And so if Prescott brings a whole bunch of guys into the box, that's going to put pressure on those guys. I don't know how good those guys are, right, for Prescott, but that would be the counter strike, right? Where it's like, all right, if we're not having success in between the tackles, we can go outside and how good are their guys versus our guys?
Prescott plays a lot of man-to-man, so I think it's going to be difficult for them to really load the box a heck of a lot more because you have to cover up people when you're playing man-to-man. Right. So so for instance, if you have trips one way and they're going to have 3 people out there,
right?
So
it's very similar. It's the man-free scheme that we.
They play one high. I don't know how much man free per se it is. It's more like one high man. I don't feel like they're like we used to play outside leverage and we'd invite in. We have a low hole and a high hole,
right?
And I think they're more just playing straight up man with one high. Jumping quarterback size, things like that.
So you got to feel pretty good about your cover guys if that's.
You feel good about your cover guys doing that, yeah, absolutely.
So I would think that you'll see a whole bunch of guys just come screaming in, and because if you're blitzing,
mm-hmm.
the ball's got to come out, right?
Yeah,
and that's what you have to.
They'll have their flexes and they'll bring people up, and then they play the game of who's coming and who's not coming, and you're not sure. We'll be prepared. If they're bringing 5, they're bringing 6, whatever they're bringing, we should be all right.
Just it'll present a different look than But it's a defense, like you mentioned, you're familiar with.
Yep.
So that helps. The other team then in the conference, though. Okay, so as we look at the conference, we're 4 wins guarantees a playoff berth. There's going to be a bunch of teams that make the playoffs with 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the Wiz Sports group has gone through and projected all the remaining games and projects 5 middle border teams to make the playoffs. So us, Prescott, Ellsworth, Central, and Osceola.
Mm.
Okay. So as we look forward, right? I know you don't like to do that, but that is not Somerset, that is not Altoona, and that is not Amory.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 teams, and then it gets to be the fun part of making a region of 8. So we've seen.
I don't like seeing. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's okay, but when you get to playoffs, like last year, we played 3 middle border conference teams.
Right.
I don't think that's the way it should be. Personally, I mean, I think what I would love to see them do, them being the WIA, I'd love to see them seeded either 1 through 16, or make it 1 through 32, right?
Right.
And then. Like they've done studies on the travels. They don't want to do it because of travel. There's a study done that shows what the travel would be and what the differences are, and it's negligible.
So what?
Look at our travel history. I mean, we've gone to. We had to go to Adams Friendship. We had to go to Columbus. We had to go.
Right. So back in the pre-computer days, when there was the script that you followed,
mm-hmm.
It was even you make the 8-team regions. You would seed through the first 4,
mm-hmm.
and then it was closest opponent.
They did that? No, it used to be the coaches literally did this. There was coaches meetings, and they would seed them.
But prior to that.
Oh, well, now we're getting to be a long time ago.
So that like when Jake was a junior, it was the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 3 seed, the 4 seed, and then I believe it was you took the 4 seed, and then they got the closest opponent, and then the 5th seed. So the travel.
Geography.
Correct. So then we would pull.
I don't ever recall that.
So like when Central was the 1 seed, the year that we played them at their place, and we're ahead I believe we're ahead at halftime. We went there because it was the closest thing for them.
I didn't realize.
After that, then it became.
Or else I just forgot.
The coaches, and now it's the computer.
Yeah.
So I think there's ways to do it where. Once you get into level 2, it gets to be crazy travel anyway. Last year, O'Connell Falls was in the same region that we were in.
Right.
And that's on the other side of the state.
Figure, yeah.
But when you look at our map, it's basically you get the middle border. Sometimes you get like the northwestern, someone from whatever that's called. I don't even know what. That's
heart of the north.
The heart of the north. The Dunn St. Croix teams are all smaller. So now it's like the Cooley Conference is kind of that next conference that's comparable to us.
Right.
And so that's kind of for me, that's the conference to watch if you're like, okay, who are the teams that we're going to pull from?
Right.
But it's been, that year that it was Adams Friendship, Wisconsin Dells, and Boston.
Yeah.
So 3 teams from the South Central that just get pulled up to the Northwest.
Right.
But that's all fun stuff for me to look at and you not to worry about for a few weeks.
True.
Monday night, JV and C Squad games tonight. How did those go?
Man, we had some good games tonight. I just caught the tail end of the freshman game. Our freshmen are ahead 22-16. And Osceola's driving, and a kid is going in for an apparent touchdown. And JT Dockel comes from literally 20 yards behind the kid. He's closing. Inside the 5, Dockel gets the ball, strips the ball. We recovered on the 1.
Okay.
So he, basically saves it.
Yep.
So then we're going back the other way. We're on offense, and trying to remember if we turned it over or what the heck we did, or maybe we turned it over on downs. Or we had a punt, and so they had literally 30-some seconds left, maybe 40 seconds left. And we got into third and long, and they threw it up, and they literally caught the tying touchdown with 10 seconds left.
Okay.
Which was very, just like we had them, I think it was 4th and long. I take it back. It was 4th and 9 or something like that. Obvious throw. And, they made the play. Well, they're going for 2. They get the 2, they're going to win the game. But our kids held them up. We got the tie, got out of there. Okay. It was a good game. Like I said, I just caught the tail end of it. The JV game, I was there for all of that. That was, I'll tell you what, Brady Hansen played a great football game tonight. I love to know what his stats were because that kid was everywhere, making tackles, blowing up. They were running this little quick jet, and he was all over that. He just looked really, really good. Another kid that stood out to me tonight was Aiden Foster. Aiden Foster had a really nice night, caught some balls, returned a punt for a touchdown. He played well. Tyler Clark really stuck out to me because he's playing D-line, but his ball get-off was just unbelievable. He looked like he was playing at a speed that was different than these other kids, and he created some havoc. It was a nice win for the JV. The JV winds up winning 28-6.
Okay.
Solid effort, on both sides of the ball. And the 6 they got, Coach Laram called the play. He's like, hey, the quarterback's at wing. It's going to be a halfback pass. He literally called it before it happened. And sure enough, they toss it, halfback pass. And we're in pretty good shape. We're covering it. Good throw. And, just literally off one of our kids' fingertips. And the kid makes a great catch in the end zone. You give him credit, Yeah,
absolutely.
But other than that, we played really good D, So that was good to see. And there was a lot, everybody played and, kids were feeling good about things. So that's great.
All right. So looking forward then, we're going to play Prescott Friday. Badgers do what on Saturday? They got to win, finally.
Yeah. Badgers, that first half was sluggish and frustrating, and although they were ahead, they didn't play. I didn't think they played very well, but that second half, they actually looked like they were playing some good ball. Now, granted, Purdue is maybe not the strongest team in the Big Ten, but that is definitely, there's some evidence of something good happening. So let's hope that they can build on that.
And who do they play this week? Do we know?
This week, the Badgers, I believe, play, is it Rutgers this week?
Oh, yeah, they're underdogs.
Yeah, Rutgers is decent. I mean, Rutgers, I think, has got one loss. Allegedly, they're decent. I can't say that I've seen Rutgers play, but we'll see.
All right, and then on Sunday,
yeah,
the Packers survive Jordan Love doing a Will Levis impersonation.
Oh,
throwing the ball.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he did that. But then, from that point forward, I thought he played really good. I don't know if you watched or not, but yeah, that was an awful decision that you just can't make. But it's football. It's not life and death. Sometimes people do stupid things.
That's true.
You keep doing those stupid things, you're out of a job in the NFL. But I don't feel like at all concerned about Jordan Love. Like, some people, I was texting some buddies, I don't think Love's ready. I'm like, he's ready. Believe me, he's ready. He's going to be fine. And he did. I thought he stepped up and played pretty good the rest of the way.
Do you remember when the Packers drafted Jordan Love?
I do.
How do you feel about that pick?
I don't know if I can use colorful enough language and keeping it clean here. Yeah, I was not thrilled with the pick because my perspective was they were very close to winning a Super Bowl. And I think the wisdom at that point in time was they needed another receiver. And there were all kinds of receivers. And it seemed crazy that they wouldn't do it. Now I'm glad they did it. And that's why I'm sitting on this couch, and that's why Brian Gutekunst cashes his check.
I'm glad that they did it because that was the COVID year.
Yeah.
So instead of being together and watching it, we actually were all on like a Zoom meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Watching the draft together. And the first round was done. And we just sat around for another 45 minutes just to listen to you talk about how terrible of a pick that was.
I thought it was a bad pick, but
because it went him and then was it AJ Dillon?
Yeah, that whole draft was questionable.
Yeah,
and then they drafted the tight end that never panned out.
DeGuara.
Yeah, Josiah DeGuara.
Yeah,
drafted him. So
it was a bad draft, but you know what? They made it out. Jordan Love turned out to be okay.
Yeah, Jordan Love's going to be good. I'm glad they did it.
And they have a serviceable backup too.
They do.
Will they have this backup next year, or do they take the 2-0 Malik Willis and cash those chips in for? Teams are always looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know what his contract status is. This is his third year. Am I right? So he's probably under contract for
another year.
Another year for sure. So I would bet he'd be with the Packers for at least another year. And then they'll have a decision to make. And he'll probably, Malik Willis will probably want an opportunity somewhere else where he's not going to, unseat Jordan Love, I wouldn't think.
Well, not if you're paying Jordan Love.
Right.
How many, $50 million a year for how many years?
4?
Yeah, a lot of money.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Just teach your kid how to be a quarterback.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we close it up for the week?
Well, I will say, as you reported, we had 100 wins, and it was pretty cool because of the number of kids that reached out, with congratulations and things of that nature, and it just, you feel really fortunate and thankful for all the great guys you got to coach, and because there have been some great dudes, and I love those dudes, and I've had so many spectacular assistant coaches that you can't do anything without. Right. We have great assistants and have had the whole tenure, so very fortunate in that regard. So it just that was cool.
The Gatorade or water, or whatever they dumped on you.
Yeah,
it wasn't a real square shot from the video that I saw. How did that feel?
Cold.
It was cold?
It was cold, yeah. Well, luckily I had this red coat on, and the water kind of went right off the coat. but my pants got wet. So I had to go in the locker room. I had to take my pants off. I didn't have a change of pants, right? And they had these hand dryers. So there's 2 hand dryers there. And because my backside's big enough, I was able to get my pants
On both of them?
over both and get them dried off. I felt actually pretty clean and dry. I'd say that after about 15 minutes.
Is that the first water?
That's the first water / Gatorade or whatever it was that I've ever been doused with.
God, I feel like there was one earlier, and
I don't think so.
we had it planned out that Deb actually had an extra change of clothes for you. Would that have been? Man, why do I feel like that was a thing?
I don't know. Maybe you lost.
It's possible.
That could have been it. Maybe it was in the works and just never happened. I don't know.
Would have been one of those like Somerset Week 9 games. Because those would have been undefeated seasons. We've yet to have in the history of our school,
isn't that crazy?
An undefeated regular season, which is insane.
Yeah.
There was the bath at the end, which was fun to see. I just got the tail end of that, but I was wondering if you were going to have to ride home. But now you've spilled the beans, so we know.
You had to get dry, yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll close up shop for the week. We'll be live from King Field on Friday. There's a bunch of stuff going on. There's flag football before. There's mini cheerleaders happening. So come down early. There'll be a ton of people there. I'm sure the parking lots will be full everywhere. So we'll be there. We'll be live Friday night. Good luck. We'll see you there. So long, everybody.